Trump exposed the ongoing war between Israel and Palestine, which some of the Arab nations have failed for Palestinian people, urging Israel to cease fire. The war between Israel and Palestine is a war that has lasted for over 60 years. It is when the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, decided to take full control of Gaza and to wipe out Hamas. Some Arabic nations sympathized with Palestinian people, Iran being the front line. Recently, Israel attacked Iran, the reason being they underestimated the military power of Iran, and that they also felt that the Iran are engaging in their matters. In the process, the Iran military replied heavily, striking their military basements and their city Tel Aviv. Over the past 1 week, Israel had been overpowered by Iran. It is when Israel asked the United States of America to help them fight Iran. There have been ongoing diplomatic conversations between the two nations in an effort to bring peace between the two nations. But the talks could have been achieved. On Sunday, 22nd of June 2025, the United States of America decided to launch strikes on Iranian nuclear power stations. These are the nuclear power stations for Iran: Fordow Uranium Enrichment Plant, Natanz Nuclear Facility, and Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center. The strikes used B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, deploying massive ordnance penetrator. The bunker buster bombs along with the cruise missiles launched from submarines. The Pentagon reported extreme severe damage to all three sites, but the Iran downsized the damages as relatively superficial with no irreversible harm. Here is something you need to know about the B-2 Spirit bomber that was used to strike nuclear plants of Iran. B-2 Spirit is a long-range, heavy stealth bomber used by the United States of America Air Force. It is one of the most advanced and secretive aircraft in the world, designed to penetrate dense anti-aircraft defenses and deliver both conventional and nuclear weapons. B-2 Spirit jet was first launched in July 17, 1999, but started working in 1997. It can fly for over 6,000 miles without being refueled, and it can also carry up to 18,000 kilograms of bombs. B-2 Spirit was used to strike the Iranian nuclear facilities because the facilities are underground. This is the reason the B-2 Spirit jet can carry GBU-57A massive ordnance penetrator, a 30,000 bunker buster bomb designed to destroy hardened underground targets like nuclear facilities. B-2 was used to strike Iran because they can fly deep into enemy territory undetected. They can carry bunker busting bombs needed to hit underground nuclear facilities like Fordow. And also their precision strike capabilities are ideal for surgical strikes with minimal collateral damage. Trump on Sunday, 22nd of June, in a press release said that Operation Midnight Hammer was a successful one. But on the other hand, the Iranian government said that the US mission that was calculated on March early this year to bomb their nuclear facilities had already been uncovered. The Iranian government then shifted the main components of their three major nuclear plants, leaving nothing of importance. This is the twist. The Iranian government declared that the US mission is a failed one because the Iranian government did not lose anything at all, because the weapons and all the nuclear facilities were relocated some months before the strike. The US then wasted their energy as the nuclear sites were evacuated days ago. This report was from Iranian television. Donald Trump, the US president, does not negotiate for free. The fact that he decided to help Israel is something in exchange. As US missiles strike nuclear facilities deep inside Iran, the official narratives unfold with a predictable cadence: targeted action, necessary defense, deterrence. But the more revealing question is about a strategy or even legality. It's about profit, power, and survival. Who stands to gain from this war? And what does it offer Donald Trump? Trump doesn't operate as a statesman. He operates as a deal maker. But in his world, deals are not mutual agreements. They are power plays. Leverage, dominance, and impunity guide his calculus. Every crisis becomes an opportunity, and more especially one cast as moral. Redemptive is the biggest transaction of all. The US bombing of Iranian nuclear sites is not simply a military escalation. It's the staging ground for something larger, a political theater in which Trump can cloak his vulnerabilities in the symbols of strength. This is not a grand strategy, survival by spectacle. Trump understands spectacle not merely as a distraction, but as narrative control. War grants him the role of wartime president, commander, protector, strongman. Legal scrutiny resides. Indictments look like interference. The position becomes disloyal. The media becomes non-patriotic. Dissent is cast as danger. But this is not just about optics, it's a ritual. The bombing of Iran becomes a performance of power, mythic, masculine, morally unambiguous. The appearance of command replaces the massiveness of policy. Trump doesn't need to win the war. He needs to inhabit its theater, to generate a politics of destiny while the machinery of accountability stalls. Trump's base of power is not ideological but transactional. Less party than a patronage network. It rewards loyalty with access. Access to contracts. Trump's base of power is not ideological but transactional. Less party than a patronage network. It rewards loyalty with access to contracts, deregulation, and immunity. War fuels that machine. Within hours of the bombing, markets shifted. Defense stocks surged. Oil futures spiked. Political insiders placed bets before the public knew the stage was set. This isn't collateral economic activity. It's the business model. Crisis creates volatility. Volatility creates margins. The system profits from instability. Trump doesn't hide this convergence of state power and private gain. Institutionalizes. Those who bankroll his machine understand that conflict accelerates a return on investment. War becomes not a policy failure but a profit strategy. Trump's war isn't only fought abroad, it's narrated at home as a continuation of the domestic culture war by other means. Iran, already demonized as a theocratic, defiant and alien adversary, now becomes the perfect enemy, religiously distinct, non-Western and irrational. It satisfies both geopolitical and symbolic functions. This is not just political maneuvering. It taps into a deeper moral economy, one where war redeems status lost in globalization, immigration, and democratic change. It promises not safety but vindication. The world seen as upside down must be set right. Punishment becomes the path to restoration. And this logic spills inward. Foreign enemies are mirrored by domestic ones. Muslims abroad, migrants at the border, political opponents at home, all folded into a singular civilization-defining narrative. A singular civilization-defining narrative. The line between foreign and domestic threat collapses. Trump doesn't just exploit crises; he governs them through. War becomes justification for emergency powers, expanded surveillance, media suppression, repressive policing. Legal norms aren't abolished outright. They are suspended, selectively enforced, or they are bypassed. Legal norms aren't abolished outright. They are suspended, selectively enforced, or bypassed. The bombing of Iran may mark the start of another war, but it also inaugurates a phase of execution or exception, a space where the rule of law becomes conditional and civic life is subordinated to the demands of national security. Elections can be delayed, protests can be criminalized. The extraordinary becomes normalized. The genius of this mode of rule lies in its secularity. The emergency justifies repression, and repression manufactures the condition for further emergency. Governance becomes an endless loop of threats, real and invented. Behind the bombs lies the old imperial story, the Middle East as a frontier of chaos, backwardness, and danger, a place that must be disciplined, reshaped, and dominated for the greater good. But under Trump, this narrative is stripped of subtlety and diplomacy. Iran is not just framed as a strategic rival, it is cast as the embodiment of disorder itself. Its destruction becomes a moral imperative, a test of will, a rite of purification, aligning fully with Israel's maximalist posture. Trump reactivates a civilizational myth that American power is not coercive but redemptive, not violent but virtuous. This isn't just about Iran, it's about who defines order and who must submit, about whose lives count and whose deaths are just the price of power reasserted. So while analysts debate troop movements, airspace violations, and diplomatic consequences, the deeper truth is this: Trump doesn't stumble into war, so he uses it. So while analysts debate troop movements, airspace violations, and diplomatic consequences, the deeper truth is this: Trump doesn't stumble into war, he uses it. The bombing of Iran is not a merely policy, it is leverage. It is an instrument of personal gain, a tool of consolidation, a way to reset the board before the game escapes its control. War suspends judgment. It amplifies fear. It rewards loyalty. It drones dissent. And above all, it reframes chaos as leadership. Trump doesn't need peace. He needs conflict, because in conflict, he thrives. In spectacle, he survives. And in the ruins, his allies profit. And remember, guys, this is how Trump, or how the United States of America, is going to benefit from the bombing of nuclear power stations of Iran. Remember, this is Imara TV. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.